Alright, so today I figured it would be about time I'd upload a video showing off Salmon Run. Is something that some people have suggested and asked if I would ever, cover. But I figured it would be a bit better to have someone join me, so I wouldn't be doing this alone. So today I got a nice friend that I assisted in a previous project. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, it's Chuggaaconroy.
Yep. So if you hadn't seen, if you hadn't seen, Chuggaaconroy actually did a Splatoon 1 Let's Play about a year ago, and I was one of the few people that contributed to his information regarding those videos. So I figured I'd see if he'd be down to play some Salmon Run with me, and thankfully, well, here he is.
You were very helpful. It was very hard to find a competitive ink brush player. I'll just say that much.
Yeah, I remember you messaged me a lot asking for specifically that information, and then I remember you had one where you asked me if I had any clips of me squishing people. That was it.
Oh yeah, you like had that. It was like a trophy. Like I remember you actually did have footage of that. It was really cool.
Yeah. All right, so I think I'm just gonna start up a lobby, and if there are people, because this has come up quite a bit, and I imagine there's gonna be some people that are coming here from watching you. The reason why my game is in Japanese is because I'm learning the language. That's it. This comes up a lot in my own videos. I constantly get comments asking why it's in Japanese.
I saw back in the days of Splatoon 1 when you replaced the text. I remember you made a tweet just saying, "Why do I have Japanese text? Because I like it better," and I just kind of accepted that as a good enough answer and just never questioned it after that.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot better, and some of the dialogue was better. But I've also been learning the language since high school, off and on, and so I figured it would help with memorization to just stick with this.
You are so lucky because my high school it was you were learning Spanish or Spanish.
Oh, my original high school was like that, but then the district shut down my high school while I was a sophomore, and then the second high school I went to had every language under the sun.
Oh, you're so lucky. I would have loved to have done that. And learning with a game sounds amazing. Just like such a good way to learn and just good practice while you're doing something that you love.
Yes. All right, so let's. I guess we'll just have it queue for randoms since it's just us.
Um, so when you said the dialogue is better in Japanese, some of it is. I've heard that some of the weapon puns are really great, like a lot of the names are though, but I've heard the Squid Sisters are oddly like kind of boring. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, their dialogue originally was they didn't. The thing with the localization is they poked fun at each other a lot, where the original dialogue was more like family. Like they were more obsessed with like bringing each other up, where the localization had them bringing each other down a bit more.
That's interesting. Okay. I was kind of curious what that was though, because I remember I saw a video on that. Oh, I am going the wrong way. What am I doing? Every now and again, the freaking cage popping up over here. Okay, let me do this.
Yeah, and the one thing that I noticed a lot when looking at the Japanese version was a lot of the weapons, like you mentioned, some of the weapon puns were changed, and some of the localization, they lose the reference. Like the gal weapons in the Japanese version are galin.
Oh.
Like that's one thing that I'm when people ask me like what's the difference, like, oh well, the gals are actually called 96 gallon and 52 gallon.
They actually had those beta names too.
Yeah.
Like in the early screenshots for the English version, it showed that they were called 52 gallon and 96 gallon. I think we didn't see the 96 in a pre-release screenshot, but it's fair to assume that it was.
Yeah, I don't know why that change was made, but I don't know. I'm not Nintendo, so I guess they might have done it because the font might have changed and left them with less space.
I don't know. I would have loved to have seen just like I would love to know like the reasoning behind a lot of changes like that. Just because a lot of it, contrary to people calling it censorship, a lot of the time it is just like they needed less space, so they decided to shorten something or decided to abridge something or whatever.
Yeah, people use the term censored a lot when a lot of the times it's changes made because certain things don't make sense outside of Japan.
Yeah, it's just like they might be referencing a slapstick gag that's not really well known or something like that, or might be referencing a Japanese actor's line, and so they change it to an American actor's line. A multitude of things like that. But anyway, Splatoon.
Oh yeah. So I guess I'll just start out with I guess asking you some of the stuff. So I know you got one of the review copies. So what was it like to actually play the game before it was released, and you had to play with all the other reviewers and YouTubers and such?
Oh, I was super thankful that I was picked for that. It is kind of a crapshoot if I get picked for it or not, because I'm personally not a reviewer. So it is kind of, just, I guess, if they're feeling generous, that they let me do things like that. And I was really thankful that it was this one. It was a little weird, like, trying to find games, as you can imagine. There was, of course, the off times. They had scheduled times for people to be online, though, but ranked battles were just impossible. Like, I think I only played one ranked battle before the game was out, because you have to be level 10 to access it, and when it's hard to even find Turf Wars games, you can imagine there weren't many level 10s on the server, and much less 8 of them at a time.
Yeah, I saw. I think it's Andre from Game Explain also mentioned that, where they had showed off some ranked footage, and then in like the description of the video, he said that this was like the only ranked match you could actually get.
No, I believe it. It was impossible to get ranked games going, and it was nuts though, because there were people on the servers that were playing a lot, where they were just on at all times. I'd go on at like 3 in the morning, and they were on there still from 3 in the afternoon looking for fights. But yeah, it was hard to find 8 people that were like that. Ah, gosh. This is getting rough. Why did you give me the E-Leader game? I'm not good with it.
It's also, yeah, the E-Leader's good for bosses, but once we're getting stormed like this, it's not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to eventually get like stuff like that, like to be able to participate in like the words are escaping me, like a test or like a pre-release thing like that. I think that would be pretty cool.
I heard SRB2 Dude was actually given a copy, and I know that some tournament winners were as well.
He was given it because he won a tournament. There was a misconception where he went around telling, like, he was going around saying he had the game, and people were saying that it's because of his YouTube channel, but it was actually because he won. I think it was called the Great British Splat Off or something. And that.
Oh yeah, there was an official tournament that did that.
Yeah, and I think I believe that's where he got it, because that's where his teammates from that tournament said that that's where they got it.
Mm-hmm. I am so happy that you are the sniper for this.
Oh, I'm not. I'm the blaster.
Oh, you're not? Oh, shoot. I thought I saw... Okay, no, sorry. Your username was, like, overlapping with the charger, so I thought you were the charger.
Well, I wish, because then I'd be messing this up. Oh. There's actually, I don't know if you know this, there is a little cheat you can do here. If you have the Stingray special, and you aim it up at that mothership as it's coming in, there's an angle where you can shoot it to where it'll break the boxes as they come out of the ship.
I kind of want to try that. I actually am the one with the Stingray in this one, but I've never done it before, so I'm liable to mess it up, but it's the last phase, so oh well.
Yeah, just once the mothership starts moving in, just stand by the little egg basket, and then use your Stingray and just point it up at the top where the boxes are coming out of.
Gotcha, okay.
It's starting to move now.
Got you. Going. It is damaging. Whoa, this is doing a lot. How?
Yeah, and then you can see the trail of eggs.
Cool! Wow! Oh, a black egg.
I think it's just one that they're overlapping too much.
Okay, I've never seen it do that before, but hey.
I will say I'm not the one that found that, so I'm not going to steal credit for that. A lot of the stuff that I know from Salmon Run are pointed out to me on Twitter, so I'm not going to take credit.
There's just so much depth to Salmon Run and so many different situations that you could go a long time without seeing that a lot of it's just word of mouth, where it's like, oh crap, you can do that.
Yeah, and the posts in the plaza and the North American copies also point out that stuff a lot. I don't see it so much in the Japanese one, though.
I've seen that where they're like, oh, you don't need to use bombs to deal with the fly fish. You can use the Stingray, and there's a few other things you can do, too. when I first got the Octobrush on like the second day that I had the game pre-release, I instantly thought of you, and I'm just like, yeah, he's gonna love this weapon. He's gonna like it a lot. At that point, the auto bombs had been buffed from what we'd seen in the demos at PAX and stuff like that, so I knew that it was probably gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, at the second the embargo lifted on it, I messaged that SRB2 dude on Discord asking if he could test some of the weapon for me. And thankfully, he was more than helpful. He was more than willing to provide the information I was asking for.
He is such a nice guy. I really like him a lot.
It's a little unfortunate that it is lacking something from the first game, but I've already ranted about that enough times.
I know you had your hour-long Octobrush guide where you were just going all into why you love it, and
yeah, that guide, boy, that took a lot of time, not just because it was an hour long, but because I had originally lost that video.
Oh gosh,
I had
to re-record part of it, or
I had to re-record everything. My hard drive failed,
geez.
and I lost everything.
Oh, you poor guy. It hurts to even hear about that because I think everyone who makes video has had a video go completely lost at least once in a while.
Yeah, and so it killed my motivation. Like I woke up one day and turned on my laptop, and it just pops up saying, "Please insert or there's like no hard drive inserted." Pull it out, put it back in, and it keeps telling me there's no hard drive inserted. So I put in another hard drive and plug in the previous one into an enclosure so I could test it, and it came up saying that it was damaged. I was like, well, that's that. I'm done. And so I just didn't re-record anything for a couple months, and then decided to redo everything and tried to remember as much as I could of what I'd already recorded.
Well, it's great that you pushed through, though.
Yeah, that video has gotten a lot of attention, which I'm thankful for. But it's also got I got a lot of flack for that video because previously, or even now, honestly, a lot of guides that this community makes don't tend to be that long. And so there's like this, I guess, standard that a guide for a weapon should be like 10 to 15 minutes. And then I come out with an hour-long guide. Everyone's like, why is this not 10 to 15 minutes?
Oh, I don't see anything wrong with doing that. Just like, if you haven't that much to talk about, it's like your essay is only as good as the information that you put into it. So if you really have that much to say, I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. And
yeah, see, that's what I looked at it. Every time someone was saying like it should have been 10 minutes, I'm like, you wouldn't have gathered the amount of information that I was putting out there in 10 minutes.
I would. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it was also listed as a complete guide, not like an easy guide. I wanted to mention every single thing.
Oh, definitely. Just you can't have it both ways. Is how I'd look at it. Is just that some people were saying like, oh, how could you not talk about this or that when I did my guides, and it's like I was trying to make them. I was trying to like have some information in there that veteran players would find interesting, but also still have it accessible for beginners, and it's a hard common ground to get. So
yeah, that's why a lot of the extra information I provided for your videos, I tried to include as much stuff that even competitive players don't even like bring up. So a lot of the times I just mentioned stuff that I don't even think competitive players knew.
I mean, a lot of people were not. We were talking about this just before the recording. There was nobody experimenting with the vanilla jet squelcher, and you gave me information on how that can be usable in some situations that was really fun to make more known. I was just super glad that you had information like that, and you were trying to find ways to make things viable, because a lot of people weren't doing that. It was all 10 attack and 52 gal, and every team had to have a charger on it, otherwise you were setting yourself up for failure. Those were just the prevailing mindsets, and
yeah, it is unfortunately the downside to a competitive environment where everyone's going to flock to what wins and what does well, and that results in certain things just going by the wayside and never getting seen, which is people think that's why I originally picked up the Octobrush, was so I could people thought I was doing it so I could get attention or like be an anti-meta person, when in reality I played the weapon because it was something that I felt had the potential to be better than the Crack-On.
Yeah, the rollers have just gotten nerfed so much, whereas the Octobrush got so many buffs to it. It works totally different from how it did before. Oh, sorry, you're talking about the first game. What am I saying? Sorry, it's focusing on the game at the same time and all that. But yes, I get what you're saying about the first game. How it's interesting.
Yeah, there's just I don't know. I was really interested in the weapon. I wanted to play it, but people constantly said I was doing it to be anti-meta, which I thought was pretty funny.
I mean, if you're getting results with it, I don't think anyone can tell you different. There are definitely weapons that I do think are inherently better than others, but I mean, I like Octobrush personally.
Yeah, there's always going to be those times where something's just going to outdo something, but it's, unless you test stuff and figure things out, then you'll never know what truly works or what's really a counter to X. Because there's
definitely,
there's when Splatoon 2 came out, the special that everyone used just as much as Bubbler and Kraken was that ink armor, because it actually had it provided that extra hit, and everyone was complaining about it and saying that there was no good way to fight it. While there were good ways to fight it, people were just not playing what was good at fighting it.
They were just countering it with more ink armor, really. I remember even in the pre-release version, just ink armor was everywhere in every match, where it was practically you always had to deal with it in combat.
Yeah, I compared it to like fighting fire with fire when they should be fighting fire with water.
Oh yeah. I remember also the inkjet was like, if you weren't playing ink armor, you were playing the inkjet and just charging it up as fast as you could and just running people over with it and stuff like that. I'm trying to do my best and just kind of like, this guy's username is Creamy Fart. What?
Out of all the names in the world you can have, you got 10 characters, and that's what you go with.
Out of all the possible combinations and permutations. Well, at least I can take solace in saying that's not my username when trying to defend my comments if they're wrong. Oh, gosh.
Well, speaking of the game always changing, this is actually something my teammate wanted me to ask you.
Yes.
How do you feel in regards to the flow of updates that we're getting compared to the first game?
I find it good that we're like still getting weekly updates. I'm aware that Splatoon 1 was not originally planned to have weekly updates, that everything before Sheldon's Picks was planned to be in the game normally, but it was pushed forward in development. But this time I like the fact that we just have like a lot more diversity in the types of things that we're getting. Like we have new Salmon Run maps sometimes. We had that one update where they pretty much didn't advertise that we were getting the Grizzco blaster and getting changes to how Salmon Run worked, where that was kind of a fun surprise.
Yeah.
I think we've had some fun updates so far. I know people were like really upset every time an update came out and it wasn't the nerf for the Tri-Sloger, being like, "Are you serious? You updated this map, but not that." And
yeah, I think what comes up a lot that people are upset about is, especially after we have the data mining information, almost every weapon from the first game is in the code, but they're just holding out on us, and that's what people are most upset about.
I get that, but the way that I can also see it is that just having those weapons with new kits that are possible, because we have all new specials and everything like that, it might just be that they kind of want more time to work on the balancing for them and just don't want to release them into this environment and would kind of prefer to gradually add weapons so they can get a clearer picture of what needs changing as it goes along.
Yeah,
At least it's what I think.
I mean, it's a good way to look at it. There's just a lot of people that are upset about the flow of updates, and I like that. Unlike the first game where we had to just figure out what was going to happen with every update, so far every time we've gotten an announcement for an update, the Splatoon JP Twitter account has specifically stated what it will be addressing. Like,
okay,
the next update is going to address main weapons specifically.
I've seen that occasionally, though. I don't follow the Splatoon 2 Japanese Twitter account. I've seen cases where I knew exactly what the balancing was going to be before an update release because of the Japanese website, but I guess I just don't follow the Japanese news quite as closely and just kind of play the game, so maybe that's why my perspective is very different. I'm just a noob.
Yeah, I follow it because I like seeing the information, and then even if I didn't follow it, it would still end up on my timeline from everyone else that follows it.
Yeah, I get that. I just, unfortunately, I don't personally have a lot of friends that play Splatoon. I wish I did, but yeah, in a lot of cases, I just kind of prefer to not be spoiled, so I tend to not follow the news, and I just kind of have my first experience be playing it, just so I kind of don't have a, preconceived notion of if I'm gonna like it, if I'm not gonna like it, if I think if it is good or if it's not good, and I kind of like to wait a little while and see what people say after it's been released and they've had hands-on time with it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just how I personally am. This is my least favorite event, easily, the one that we're playing right now. I know how to do it. I know that it is basically a hot potato, cold potato, or not hot potato, like hot and cold kind of thing, where it's telling you as you hit the geysers and you have to hit the one farthest from the coldest one, but I can never do this one right. I get that you're not supposed to just like hit them willy-nilly. You're supposed to kind of like hit a few and just kind of douse for it that way, but I never get even close to the egg requirement. I've only ever beaten this event one time across all the times that I've played it.
Well, it would be a lot easier if we had all of us, but we're having to deal with these guys that are just shooting them because they want to.
Creamy fart.
Yeah, they're just shooting it because they want to shoot it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's actually okay. If you actually want me to talk about a complaint with Splatoon 2, I'm not personally offended by the flow of updates, but one thing that I don't like is in Salmon Run, how many dang events there are. And you always have that one guy on your team of randoms who's never seen this event before and doesn't know what to do, and because there's no voice chat, you can't tell them what to do. I know that there's the text-based manual for the different events. I've read that, but not a lot of people have, and it's very frustrating that you don't have any way to fill them in on what to do.
Yeah, I think that's why there are so many of those posts telling people what to do, because it's things that people are gonna see in game, and when other people give it, it's gonna be more likely to be seen. So it helps out those people that aren't, looking at YouTube or looking at the guide or looking at Twitter, and so they're just relying on their own instincts, and then they're walking around the plaza and they see, oh yeah, you can kill a mob by dropping a bomb. It's like, you don't have to shoot it. It's like, oh, now I know.
The flyfish tip, I remember, that was one of the best posts that I saw in the plaza, where I think it was following an update they made it so that you could kill it with a few different moves.
Oh yeah, they made it so, like, more than just bombs deal damage to it.
Yeah, you can do the stingray. I think even the splashdown works against it now if you're in the right spot.
Yeah, if you use splashdown to fall down on the buckets, it breaks them. Oh.
Is that you? Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah, let's, what else? I guess, what is the thing, what weapon do you enjoy the most right now?
Let's see. I have been playing the .52 gal a bit more lately. I think it's alright. Definitely not, like, I don't think it's as crazy as it was in the first game. What's something else that I really enjoy? I play the Octobrush a lot, personally. I'm kind of with you on saying that the rollers have just been nerfed into the ground, so it's just kind of nice having the brushes kind of be more viable by proxy.
Yeah, I got a lot of hate for that comment. A lot of people were not happy that I said that brushes deserve to be viable over the rollers.
I wouldn't necessarily say over the rollers, though, but I definitely do see that because rollers have just been so fundamentally changed in this game that it does make other close range weapons kind of more attractive, I guess, just because a lot of the other ones have gotten a lot of buffs, the Octobrush especially. Because I think the only nerf that the Octobrush had from the first game was just ink consumption, which if it's going to be longer range, do more damage, and hit a wider area, yes, it should use up more ink, so I fully agree with that nerf, but...
Yeah, it did receive another nerf that it's not really, I guess, depends on who you ask, whether it was intentional or not. But with the Octobrush in the first game, when you would swing the brush, it would hit with the brush, like the bristles and the ink from it, allowing it to basically hit more than once. They made it so it can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it no longer has the double hit. I know that was one of the things that ink brushes kind of had to do a lot in the first game as well.
Yeah, and they removed that, but the trade-off for that was they made its damage more consistent than it was in the first game.
Oh, easily, yeah. The damage fall-off on brushes in the first game was really harsh.
Yeah, that's why we used damage up, was to Basically, we would use it to fix the fall off to ensure that the fall off would, provide a consistent kill.
Are you personally for the removal of damage up? Most people I've seen are like long term, where maybe they weren't for it at first, but they kind of prefer it now.
I didn't really mind damage up, mostly because a lot of the time people used it needlessly. Like a lot of the times they'd use it on weapons that didn't need it, or they just they would run either way too much or not enough. So it was a nitpick with people's not knowing how much they needed.
A lot of people, yeah.
I was more okay with the fact that defense is gone, because defense, unlike damage up, where damage up is there for a situation that may or may not exist, defense is for a situation that'll always exist.
Definitely, and the fact that the more people run defense up, the more valuable damage up becomes as a result as well, where it just perpetuates.
Yeah, it created a very odd environment where it's like you either have to predict that they're going to run defense, so you run damage, or you got to run defense hoping they're not going to run damage. It resulted in a very shaky environment. Oh, we just did it.
Oh, we did. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Who? I saw 2 other people with the eggs, and we needed 3 more. And okay, however we did that, cool.
Yeah, I was fine with defense and damage gone. Of course, defense in a way still exists with the sub defense, but it's not as it's not a big slap in the face to certain weapons as it was in the first game.
Nah, Ink Resist Up kind of also sort of has the same purpose, but like where it does reduce damage from certain things. But yeah, it's. I'm kind of okay with Defense Up only existing for some things and not others.
Yeah, that's the boat I'm sitting in. It's fine. Like I don't really care too much about it now. Like there's been a lot of people are all about running sub defense now to fight like Inkjet and all that stuff. I don't really care too much to invest all that much in it, but I can. It's better than people just investing in defense in the first game, because then they could just tank full shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of things like the with the .52 gal being so prevalent, people just loved running it.
Yeah, that was another thing that some of the weapon changes, like the kits, are result in certain things just being basically erased from the meta game. Like the 52 no longer having the splash wall basically made it to where no one wanted to play the 52 gal anymore. And I can understand that, but like, it's still a good weapon. I still like it.
Yeah, it's still okay. Yeah, I played the .52 gal from the early days of Splatoon. Like, I would say that there was a period, maybe like a week or two when the first Splatoon game was new, and at that point, I would say that Splash Wall was kind of underrated. I didn't see it run a lot, though, but I instantly thought, like, this is a really underrated, like, attack, and this is going to go places, and sure enough, it did. And the .52 gal was just ridiculous at that stage of the game.
Yeah, that and the 96 Deco were very good at just sitting with their wall and making the most out of it.
Oh, yeah, it was just... That hurts to see that we were 1 away. Oh, boy. I feel like, I personally was never opposed to Salmon Run only being playable at certain times, because I get that the rewards are really strong and that you don't want to take too much attention away from the main mode. I know that they've made the periods longer, which I guess I'm fine with at that point, though, but I do kind of feel like a lot of players just aren't playing the versus battles like they used to, where people only really get on when Salmon Run's on, which I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but obviously I can't tell people what to like, so I'm not really, like, personally going to say that it's wrong or anything like that. It's just something that I've noticed, that I feel like a lot of people just kind of care about Salmon Run, and there isn't really as much care for the versus battles these days.
Well, I think I can kind of answer why that is, and that's it's the matchmaking that makes that. It's when it came to like the first Splatoon, the attach rate for the game in North America and Europe was nothing compared to the attach rate in Japan. But they've adjusted the matchmaking to minimize the amount of problems with connections. So now it favors connections that are closer to you, where the first game used a very basic system that would just put you with whoever was playing. And more often than not, that resulted in all the lobbies being Japanese players because they
Oh
made
yeah.
up the vast majority of the player base. So I think what it seems like the amount of people playing is slow and not there, but it's because it's not there in our own country. It's outside of our country that's playing it, and will continue to play it. And that is personally my only gripe with this game, and I hope that they change it. Is that the matchmaking needs to go back.
You just prefer it if it was like that. It's the thing is though is that no matter how you do it, there is going to be consequences. I remember people didn't like it in the first game because they were saying like, well, every match is so slow, and like people are killing me from behind a wall just because they live so far away. And I remember people getting just really mad every time the rooms were Japanese, and there being like a lot of people just whining about it. I never personally was upset by it all that much. There were times where it got a little annoying, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like people are going to complain either way, and we're just kind of seeing the bad consequences of the other way now that we have seen it both ways, and we went from one way to the other way.
Yeah, I would hope that in a future update, they at least supply a button that we can enable it or disable it, so the people that do have a legitimate concern and have problems playing those kind of in that kind of environment can keep it disabled, where people like me that just want to play matches can disable it so I can play with whoever. Because I never really had a problem in the first game. Kind of like you, it was, sometimes it'd be annoying, but for the most part, every room, even if I was the only English name in there, they were mostly fine.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I might just have I might not have the best opinion on it because I do have a really good internet connection. At least most of the time I do, but not getting into that. That's kind of personal stuff. But I have a really strong internet connection. I have since the first game was released, and I've always played using the Wii U Ethernet adapter, or Switch Ethernet adapter in this case. So I've always had a considerably better connection than what I think most people have. So I might not really have the most fair opinion on that just because I don't know what a lot of people know.
Yeah. I'm also in a situation where a good majority of the time my internet is better than most. As much as I'd like to not admit that Comcast gives me good speed, because I know that by saying that they're going to, throw their fist down and prove me wrong, but I do have a decent amount of decent speeds in comparison to a lot of people that I know that have voiced concerns about playing the Japanese or European in some cases. So that might be it, and might be why, in comparison, I don't have any problems with it. But there's always going to be that problem where you're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be someone that's going to voice a complaint.
The way that you handle things like lag and matchmaking, it's all subjective, and it's different for every person that's going to be playing.
Yeah, and the way it is now, where the connection is based on ping, is a good, this is the best we can offer sort of situation, where now, instead of just, where most games like Halo and Call of Duty, you can select a North American server, and then you can still play with someone on the other side of the country and not have a good connection to them. Now it at least tries to ensure that the connection will be similar to yours.
It's more advanced in some ways, less advanced in others.
Yeah.
Again, with it being subjective, but
yeah, so it tries to provide a better environment, but in certain situations, it's just not good. And I feel like this problem is going to come up, and it's going to rear its ugly head when Super Mario Odyssey comes out, because once there's another game for the Switch out that people actually want to play, then the attach rate for this game is going to drop even lower than it already is. I think that's what's going to cause a problem, where it's going to be harder to find matches than it already is, just because there's actually another game to play. So yeah, I would like to see them change it, just because of that is going to eventually become the problem.
I guess so. At least they're still featuring the game prominently in directs, and there will be more updates. I know that I don't want to know specifics, because like I said, I do kind of avoid data mining leaks and looking up everything about a thing before it goes live, but I know that there's data mining that hints that we're getting a new mode at some point. And wow, we just barely did this.
Yeah.
So with things like that coming out, that might draw attention to the game again in the future, perhaps maybe in January, February, when releases tend to be slow. At least we can hope so, because more Splatoon players is always good.
Yeah.
I
I don't
love
know.
just
I hope. I want to have faith in Nintendo to make the right decisions, but sometimes they don't make the right decisions.
putting it mildly, but yeah. Ouch. Anyway, I love just how kind this community is, and
I can't thank you enough for actually playing. I didn't actually expect you to say yeah. Not gonna lie.
yeah, thank you for inviting me. Like it was awesome learning stuff from you about the first game. Hopefully I could learn more from you as well. You've already taught me a couple of tricks in Salmon Run that I didn't know about. I'm really glad that I know that about the mothership, because the mothership does tend to give me trouble, so that trick is really helpful.
Yeah. So for people that are watching this video, if for some ungodly reason you aren't already following him, you can check the description. I will link Chuggaaconroy's Twitter and his YouTube. He just recently finished Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, which is actually one of my favorite DS games. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you for playing, and for everyone that's watching this, I highly suggest you check him out and show him some support if for some reason you are not a part of the couple million people that are watching him already. So yeah, that's it, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you for having me.